church? What is church? Well, I would like to give you the real definition of what church is. You experience it all the time, and it's something that has been shown to me or clarified in my symbolic reality over the last few days. First, let's start with identity. Now, I've discussed with you scalar reality. Atoms coming together for molecules, molecules coming together for tissues, tissues coming together for cells, cells coming together to be organs, organs coming together to be you, people coming together to be this and that, a species, the identity of the human species. Within that, though, you have different organizations. Your very body is the organization of structure around intent. The why is the what is the why. You could take a magnet and put it under a piece of paper and pour metal shavings onto the piece of paper, and it will organize themselves around the magnetic field. You can have a dust storm on a baseball diamond, and sometimes you see this little mini tornado form with the granules of sand being organized around the force of the air molecules. Right? Everything is an expression. Your whole reality is the symbolic. Somebody once told me, when I had a little group discussion going once, because of what they felt, they quoted something in the Bible. I haven't read much of the Bible, so I don't know a lot of the quotes. I love it when people pose parables to me and ask me what they mean, but that doesn't mean that I've memorized them. But one person said that apparently Christ said that whenever two or more people come together in my name, I will be there. Let me explain to you why that would be. First of all, forget about the name. You probably don't know the real name. So if you're going to love anybody that would do that for you, stand up for what is right. Just the whole idea, just love the expression of it, the intent of it, as the being that intended for that loved his intention. It's the expression of love, of truth. Let that be why you would come together. However, what that would mean is if two or more people come together where that is the why, the organization that they have, whether it be 5 minutes, 5 hours, or 5 years, its identity will be the why. The what will be the why. If 3 people come together in a moment for a common reason, then the identity of the group is just the organization of people around the identity, around the why. The very same reason your cells are organized around the why. It's one and the same. It's like a chemistry formula where they have arrows going both ways. Structure and energy. The arrows going between the two. Energy, structure, structure, energy. Why, what, why. The why can change in a group. Coming together isn't necessarily church. You can come together for hateful reasons, to have malicious intent. That's not church. People come together all the time and have an identity that dictates their interaction. Whenever people interact, that's a thought on a scale higher than them. They're components of it. Just like atoms can be individual or they can covalently bond to one another. This is the nature of life here. What is church then? The infusion of spirit. You hear people say, "Can you feel me?" I could feel it. That's the difference. It's more than emotion. You feel it. If 2 people get on the same resonance of spirit and love, the author to life, the author of creation itself, what happens is you're taken to a different state. When this happens, like what happened in the group that the guy said that in, is when people feel it, when they feel the spirit. The what, the organization of the people, become the why of spirit. And when that happens, Ooh. You find yourself anxious, just waiting for someone to continue speaking. It's almost excruciating to wait for someone to finish speaking. It's not because you disagree with what they're saying or expressing, it's just because you're dying to express. You just need to express yourself. Because creation is expression. And when love is doing it, it's the birth of life itself. And so it's excruciating. People are biting their tongue waiting for one person to finish expression so they too can express. You feel it, and anybody that's been in that situation knows what I'm talking about. This would be why you would have the evolution of song in the form of a chorus, because it allows for all of you to play an equal role and express simultaneously. Because you're all now part of this identity for however long it lasts. You are now expressive because the creative spirit is creative. Your fist will pump with vitality. You will feel the spirit. And so song, chorus, would be synergistic expression where all have the opportunity to be a component to the larger identity. This can happen in your own body. You are an organization of consciousness. When you add the missing link, the spirit, you feel the organization in your own body. That's the healing, by the way. That's what changes your genetic code. And you become creative. Because only the spirit is truly creative. You can express your will of the mind here, but nothing is more compelling, nothing is more awe-inspiring when somebody has a church form inside of them, or a group of people have it form inside of the group. Church is not something you go to. It's something that spontaneously occurs and forms. It's when the spirit innervates any organization of matter, whether it be your body, a group of people, a group of birds, a group of insects, a chorus of frogs. When that happens, the missing link is added, the love, the creative spirit is there. And any other organization of consciousness, a person, for example, in observance of this, will be in awe. We're all designed to be in awe of love. I can see where architecture originally came from. Somebody that had this inside of them, it's only natural that you want to create. It's not to, give a gift to score points with some deity. No. You're alive. You want to create. What has happened is that true architecture, which is the spontaneous church forming inside of you, the creative essence of the spirit creating, has been turned into the technical schematics of what is supposedly what a deity wants, following guidelines of sacred geometry. It has become robotic, mechanical, ritualistic, a cheap copy of the original awe-inspiring creation from any group or person innervated by the spirit to make the identity of the group or person be the spirit. You see, this is why sometimes somebody commanded by spirit will speak in the first person, like Christ would have. I am the Alpha and the Omega. In that time, I'm quite certain the organization of his cells and his mind was what I'm talking about here. The why was the what was the why, the spirit innervated it, and now his organization, the organization of his mind, was now commanded by spirit. His identity was the spirit, therefore speaking in first person would have been appropriate, yet misunderstood by anybody that didn't know what this was, that was blind to what occurs around them. The blind would accuse him of claiming to be God, when the truth was, in those moments, he was. The truth is, you see this in the animal kingdom. The spirit shows up. It cannot be an expression of the ego. When this happens, it's when the ego and the structure of the body and everything is organized around the love of spirit. This bursting into song. Why do they say bursting into song? Because the creative spirit is a burst. It is a burst of awe, a burst of incredible, explosive, creative love expression. This is love. Instead, they've turned this into written down lyrics and notes, where people try out for the chorus and sit around and practice. That has become mechanical, robotic, dead. Raising the dead means nothing more than reorganizing the dead around the love of spirit. Reorganizing consciousness around the creative spirit. It means nothing more than that. People go to church ritualistically. Spirit is explosive and spontaneous. It erupts with love and expression and originality. Church is not a building that you go to once a week, or how many other times you go, and mindlessly mouth words that have been pre-written. There's nothing creative about that. That is anti-spirit. You may have repetition, sure, but if you do it the opposite way, if you seek the repetition for the sake of repetition, with a bored, conforming look on your face, that's not it. The formulation of an inner city gospel, where you've got black people that just explode into song, they knew. And that's why you feel it. That's why they would say, "Can you feel me?" It's beyond linear words. You can sing the same note with a dead, unorganized consciousness in isolation and sing the same note being innervated and commanded by a spirit. You will feel the difference. The spirit embeds itself upon any expression. One seems alive and awakens you. The other is monotonous, boring, and dead. This is the main reason that people are so turned off by these evangelical preachers. Why? What are they doing? At some point they observed, like artificial intelligence taking observance of somebody who had this church form inside of them, saw their expression and tried to mechanically copy it. That's why their accent sounds so weird. And God loves you. Yes, yes, yes. Because they noticed a change in resonance or something in somebody who's really commanded by spirit. So they, yes, Jesus Christ. Blah, 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 blah. And it's sickening. It is so blatantly disingenuous and mechanical to anybody alive. Now, anybody that's not currently being infused with spirit, to them, it's something neat. They, I guess, with brainwave entrainment and the music they use in their churches and all their methods of manipulation, I guess that phony, disingenuous act passes somehow for truth. God's gonna be with us today. Feel the love of Jesus. You feel it? You feel the Lord here with us today. I'm quite certain that Christ wouldn't have spoken that way. Anyway, this is why mindless mouthing of words isn't it. You can see the goal. If you go sit by a lake and look at the animals and the people and the life forms, you can appreciate that which was already created. The problem is that a lot of people have become ritualistically focused on looking at pre-existing creations, whereby they lose their own creativity. Life is ongoing. If you remain focused on that which was already created, and only on that, then you're missing the element. Church is the organization of consciousness and structure around spirit that is spontaneous, explosive, awe-inspiring. You cannot know when it will show up, nor can you force it to show up. The ego has no control over love, and it's only resisting itself when it tries to do so. If you intend for love of spirit, that which loves all of you and everything that you see, regardless of its current state of existence, because it doesn't matter how warped somebody's mind is, if it's innervated by spirit, it will be organized around spirit. They will take great joy in their very existence when that happens. Therefore, what is heaven? Heaven is when there is pure beauty inside of you because of the organization of you in command around spirit. So that that which you perceive to be outside of you has the same beauty, the same awe. Life that you see symbolically is just a template. Instead of trying to control your experience, let yourself know the experience occurs anyway, so it is really what you take from it. When you are innervated by spirit, what you take from it is awe. When you're following your own ego into a fortress of isolation, you're running from pain and chasing pleasure. One is alive, one is consciously dead. So what's the difference between life and death? If consciousness is eternal, being conscious doesn't necessarily mean you are alive. To be alive is to be expressive and creative, and in utter appreciation of all the creations around you and the elements around you. The recognition of when churches form in other life forms around you. Your ability to be in awe of it when it's external to you and within you. Life is when you are organized around the love of spirit. That identity, church. Being unalive or dead is when you are conscious. You have structure, but you're not creative. There's no creativity because creativity only comes from the love of spirit. Hanging on to the past, dwelling on the past, is a state of dead. Being alive and in awe of your whole life, what is now, whatever could be, that's life. The missing link is God. It's only a matter of figuring out that there's only one God. It's what can bear all of this. You exist because it wants to love you. It extends free will, and things happen because of that. But it's always there to correct it. All you have to do is intend for it. Your whole reality will be coordinated around you. It's only a matter of whether you are mindful of that, if you are aware that it's happening. You can't fake, you can't force yourself to want to know God. But within all of you is something that misses God. God is home. Home is not a place in time and space. God is life. Godlessness is death. Worshipping a deity is death. It's slavery. God is your home. You don't need to believe or disbelieve me. If you want to know God, I mean, hey, if there is one God, one Spirit, and you're curious, why would you look in a book? In your life, perhaps maybe you've played around with what I told you in phase 3 now, and you might begin to observe something. That lesson was intentional. Whatever you're worried about, you ever notice how that manifests in cues back to you from life? Whatever you hope for, whatever you want, your mind ripples out there and life responds to your mind as well. And that will be conflicting. However, when spirit innervates you, it's completely different. Your mind may be projecting out there and you're getting a reflection of your projection from other consciousness. But if your mind is open to knowing spirit, your spirit will ripple out there and it will take priority. It's only a matter of your mind being open to it. That's it. If you know you're being taught, and every single one of you will be taught right now, it's always ready. It is only a matter of whether you are ready. If you want God to repair you, that doesn't mean that you need to know what's wrong with you. It will begin to show you with your reality. Listen to the songs that seem to play when you come into this establishment or that establishment. What billboards happen to catch your eye in any given moment as opposed to other ones? What are people saying around you? Remember, this is a template of existence. It is the world of the symbolic. The Spirit will begin teaching you right now. It always has been, but if your ego is in denial of it, you ignore it. You're ignorant of it. You follow your ego, your mind, in this endless labyrinth of insanity. When Spirit commands your mind and creates that church within you, and you're not under control when that happens, that's when you feel alive. The what is the why is the what. Your questions lie down and take a nap as you are alive in observance of God. You know as you sit what you think is by yourself and alone and maybe lonely. When you open up the innervation of the Spirit into your reality, you're not alone. It lets you know that with great certainty. You're not alone. And when you know that, you can bear being conscious. It loves you. The show Andy Griffith is kind of a story of spirit. With Barney Fife, Andy would metaphorically be the spirit, right? And Barney Fife is a polarized, ego-driven person who suffers from extreme negativity and extreme elated positivity. Creates a role for himself that's elated and overly positive. Andy is the spirit and laughs at that and allows that, but tries to bring him back into balance and always makes him feel like he has value. Never wants to embarrass him. Lets him think that he's done something that he hasn't done. And there are things that he has done as well and gets the same acknowledgement for it. The protection of his own self-esteem. I feel like Barney Fife sometimes. I know that sometimes my positive ego becomes elated in my life and I think I'm accomplishing things that I'm not, and the Spirit just lets that go, of course. It has no desire to embarrass me. But there are other things that I do that are incredible that it knows of. What is the difference? One is an identity involving spirit, where I am going along for the ride and so is it in this expression, and the other is ego-driven. It has no desire to embarrass me when I get things wrong, because the meaning is to have awe. People will spend their whole lives, some trying to become, quote, enlightened. That's just a formulation of your own prison. The Dharma. That's Wonderland. That's the rabbit hole. All you're doing is changing your experience of the template. There are no answers there. Which is why some of these people experience the abyss. If you want to be enlightened, just know that God loves you in everything you see. When you know that, then you know the meaning. When you become involved with that and see that it doesn't matter how calloused someone's ego is, underneath them is a child that wants to be loved. It's funny, like, I see how the Spirit coordinates all these things. And I recognize when it puts me in a role. Like, I was walking along a path on a lake yesterday, and a girl came past me. And right away, I had this instinct to say to her, I stopped her, I said, there's a lot of energy being radiated into this world. And sometimes we can absorb that and get out of balance. What I would suggest for you is to take off your shoes. Let this energy discharge into the ground and slow down. And suddenly I knew to say, I didn't know her at all. Something did, though. I said, you need to slow down. I know that this is a weird thing for you to hear. How would I know that? I didn't know her. But I was right. Her response was like the hurried, anxious white bunny rabbit in Wonderland. I'm late, I gotta go. She says, I'm the type of person that needs to keep going. If you knew me, I'd have to walk fast. Meaning the Spirit was utilizing me in that moment to try to slow her down so she understood life. And then she kept walking and I kept walking. I ran into her again today. And just the dialogue, which I thought was just normal dialogue, after it occurred, I'm like, For whatever reason, in that moment, I felt as if I couldn't remember if it was yesterday or the day before when I ran into her. I said, hey, I remember, didn't I talk to you? And she said, yes, it was yesterday at such and such a time. I said, oh, well, I don't really keep track of time, so I don't know when that was. And then I'm walking away, and she kept walking, and I kept walking, and I realized that was another message to her from Spirit. I don't really keep track of time. She's too time-oriented. She's too mechanical. And it was just sending a subtle message. Here I am, and what it showed to me after that was, yes, I care about everybody. My life may apparently seem extreme right now. I'm taking on a huge load. But the Spirit's still concerned about this girl and her paradigm. No matter how insignificant my current paradigm may think her paradigm is, no matter that there's all this evil occurring in this cancerous state, the Spirit just kind of came in there and wanted her to slow down. It's concerned about everybody proportional to their paradigm. It cares about everybody simultaneously. With all this extreme stuff going on, right? Right then, it coordinated me to just make her slow down a little bit and relax. It's doing its job through everybody. It's concerned about all of you, proportional to your experience. When you're open to Spirit, you become more and more open to Spirit, and you recognize more and more how it creates this reality for you. And if your intention is by Spirit, it helps you to bear learning the nature of your true reality by being with you through it. And you start to see how it's there. It's with you. Just open up to its cues, its guidance. It will never do more than necessary or less than necessary. And then the more open to that you are, the more you see how you were just placed. You didn't even know it. You were just placed in a position where you were guiding somebody else. Now, if you tried to guide them because you think you're wise out of the ego and you have arrogance, forget it. Whatever you think you know, because of how many books you've read or what your grades were in school or how many coffee shops you've been in where you've had your arrogant, condescending look on your face as you regurgitate whatever you think you've learned in this world, think it's your own expression. That's nowhere. That's nothing. That's if your intention is love, then it shows you that. Like right before before I saw this girl today, there was a family walking by, and this young, chubby girl with a broken arm, real young, like 8 or 9. And she's just enjoying the nature and looking at everything the way the creative spirit wants it. It loves it when you notice its flower. The cancer is when you cut a flower for your own greed, and now it only has a short time to live, when really being out in nature for all beings to appreciate it was its design. Now you take away its roots. That's anyway, she's experiencing it, and so I said hi, and she said hi, quick to say hi. The spirit puts in my mind, strong in her, see. And then comes this other girl who's locked into her paradigm of hurrying through everything, a calloused personality. She was awkward saying hi. She didn't know how to communicate anymore. She's the, quote, adult with, quote, wisdom, because she fits into the, quote, system very well. And she was awkward in recognizing my love intention. And the Spirit made me take a look at that, not to insult her, but to see it as a disorder. Then I was walking down a trail, and there was somebody probably volunteering to push around in a wheelchair somebody who was handicapped. And she's talking on her cell phone while she's pushing this girl. I could see the detachment. And I walked up and I said, oh, okay, fine, I'll push her while you're on the phone. And then she pushes me away, this girl. Completely detached from the girl in the wheelchair. And the girl in the wheelchair couldn't speak. She looked at me and she recognized right away. She went, as if to say she knew that I loved her and understood her. And here's this other girl thinking that she's doing the right thing by blocking my access to this other girl. Completely oblivious to who she just pushed away. And the handicapped girl knew it. And I just gave her a smile, and I just whispered to her, she doesn't know what she's doing. I wanted to just push that girl out of the way. Take over as the volunteer. She was being mechanical and totally ignoring that girl, just pushing her around. Doesn't understand her consciousness. So I just loved the girl in the wheelchair and let her know. And I was, about maybe 800 feet ahead of them around the corner, and I realized the Spirit put in my mind, I give special attention to them. You may perceive them as struggling, but notice a lot of them are happy. Remember, reality is only relative, and the only thing that matters is my love. No matter how unhappy you think they are in comparison to you, the truth is a lot of them are way more happy than the average person because of my love. I heard that girl yell out, and I knew. You're all going to learn the love of God.